first, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. Thanks for joining us. I want to pull that up because that is our live look there from Ski Bowl up on Mount Hood. It looks pretty awesome up there. I'm not going to lie. I don't know how the snow is right now, if they've gotten... Yeah, I was just going to say, not so great, but it does look pretty nice.
It's so beautiful.
If you are going to be heading up there. Again, thanks for joining us. So this is Fox 12 Now. If you found us, well, obviously, you're watching us. But a couple of places to watch us is, well, the Fox 12 Oregon apps. On whatever platform you are on, there is an app for that. So go ahead and get that. And on top of that, at kptv.com, under the Fox 12 Now tab for our live stream. And this is a new segment here.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Joined by the one and only Katie Zuniga. You just saw her on air.
Yes.
And now she's right over here. So zipping around the office over to this desk. And yeah, we're going to get to do a lot over here.
Yes.
And a lot of it is going deeper into the weather, finding out more.
So for those of you that don't know, I have moved into the mornings. I'm no longer doing the evenings or weekends. So you'll find me Monday through Friday with the Good Day Oregon team. I'll be doing extra weather with Andy during the 6, 7, and 8, and then forecasting for the 9 and 10, and then rushing over here at 11 to do a special weather segment with Greg, where, like he just said, we're going to deep dive into whatever's going on basically around the country, but specifically we're going to pinpoint local weather first.
Yeah.
You know, so things like that. So like the fires, we would have gone back and talked about that, but we have something to talk about today.
Right, yeah, and it's kind of there in the lower third. So, I mean, it's been, I will say, for this winter, it's not been too bad so far, as far as if you don't want ice and snow.
Yes, that's been good, and we did have a pretty gray and wet December. There's a lot of people that were commenting on just how gray and wet. We actually beat average for our rainfall in December. We are so far behind for January, and we're actually going to meet and maybe even beat a dry record.
Wow.
For the month of January, and I have that lined up for you today along with Cascade Snow.
Yeah.
That's why we saw that Cascade image that we showed you the video there, because we're finally going to get new snow up there, and then we're tracking and watching for lowland snow even all the way down to the sea level.
Wow, so
lots to talk about today.
A lot to go over. Well, how do we want to start this off? Do you want to go ahead and kick us off here? Bring up some graphics.
And this is basically, if you weren't with us on one of our newscasts earlier, Good Day Oregon, we've had this unusually long, dry, sunny period. We're getting into another day after today that will be just like what you saw yesterday, today, tomorrow. It's like a wash, rinse, repeat. The only change we're going to see tomorrow is the gusty east wind that we've had in the East Metro and into those first parts of the Gorge area. Here's a look at your temperatures for the month. Now, this is basically just the daytime temperatures, not the overnight temperatures.
Okay.
And when you look at that number on the side, that negative 0.1, that includes both day and night. Overnight temperatures have been cold lately. We've been in the 20s for so many days in a row, and we're going to continue that for another couple of days. But what I want to talk about first is the rain and the return of that possibly Thursday night into Friday. So if you do a count from that Monday to today and then add 2 more days to Wednesday, that gets us to 17. That is the record that was set back in I believe it was 48. Is that
wow.
what you see here? Our little graphic pops up. Yep, I was right. January 1948. So we've made it to 15. Add 2 more, we get to 17. The timing of the showers on Thursday night, that's what's going to be the clincher for us. Will we just meet the record, or will we beat the record back from the 40s? Okay, so let's go ahead and pull up the graphics over here so we can talk through this. I frequently have a conversation with you all about different models, different tools that we use. We don't just take one model or what we call one ensemble. We take everything, we put it together. When we know the region, we put together your forecast. This one particular model shows the rain getting to the metro by 9 o'clock on Thursday night. There's others that have it earlier. There's others that have it later. But the most important fact is rain is finally returning to the metro area and the valleys and getting us finally something back in. How much we get, that still is something we're working on. This is just taking us through Friday morning. You can see not too much actually over in the Portland metro area, only about a 1/4 inch by the time we get to Friday. But Friday is going to be that wet day for you. Here's another forecast model. I want to show you. See this one? Doesn't have it until 10 o'clock that night, about 3/100 of an inch, and just starting to get along the coastline there. You take this one all the way to the end to Tuesday, and we get about an inch of rain. So that's ending the month and starting into February, a couple inches along the coast. This particular model, this one is the GFS, which is the American RAN model. And then we also have the European one, which tends to go a little more wet, a little more juicy with the systems. This one also has later into the evening. It was 11, but it brought it back just a little more. You take that one all the way to the end, and you're getting closer to 2 inches. So that's where you see it's a little more. But the bottom line is rain is finally returning, and that shows about 3 inches there in Tillamook. Those are the longer range forecast models, the ones that look out like into that 7 to 10 day range, where the first one I showed you, it's a shorter time frame, and it's because it doesn't look out so far. It can crunch numbers, and typically we look at that first one when we're within a day or two of an event because it can be more accurate, where these ones have so much data that if you tried to crunch it and do a higher resolution model, it would take it days to render, and by the time you got the information, it'd be obsolete. You'd be moving on. Okay. This is what we're tracking. I'm going to show you a couple different versions of this. This is in those upper levels, the weather pattern that we watch right here. So we frequently talk about this is the ridge of high pressure, kind of known as the bully of the weather system. This is what keeps things or lets things come and go, and it has just been parked over us. A version of it, it's maybe wiggled a little. We've seen some variations, but it's pretty much been sitting right there. That has a lot to do with why California had those Santa Ana winds that got so high. I'll just do a quick little breakout for you, okay? So you see this right here, this is a low. When we had those 100-mile-per-hour gusts, this was shifted down just over the Baja Peninsula, and then we had this high a little farther over us. So the two of those, you can kind of see right here, they come together. You have the high going this way, you have the low going this way, so you basically have this jet streak right in between that was just shoving that air right through that funnel. And then it would get into the hills, it would sink, pick up speed, dry out, and boom, you got 100-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So that's the normal setup for the Santa Ana winds, is to have a high here. But when you couple that with a low, depending on where it is here, that's when things get really crazy for you. Okay, back to your regularly scheduled weather.
Yeah. Are they still having those kinds of winds down there? I mean, so with this moving out?
This particular, yeah, no, it's breaking down, so things are weakening. And right here, where you can see this is kind of coming like this, it's not coming around as much. When you see this offshore flow, it's actually more down here.
Gotcha.
Right here, then you get that. But
That's where that
low
happens.
is too high and too close to get that perfect little trifecta of high, low, and your jet streak. Like
Gotcha.
right through there. So not at the moment. Okay, there's that high starting to break down. And then right here, you see this purple counterclockwise swirl right here. That's the low pressure, and the darker the color toward purple, the colder the air mass is. So this is Friday morning around 2 a.m. We're finally starting to see some changes. This is when we're talking about that rain coming in. We have great, nice, moisture-rich air coming in. We drop that down as we go into Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now we're starting to see it a little farther down, a little westerly flow, which actually is usually more dry. So right now, I'm not expecting Sunday to be very wet. Then you go into Monday, Tuesday, and beyond, and you see that sitting right there. This is the key factor for us. Where does this low drop? If it drops farther out, we don't see the snow. If it drops farther in, we do. If it drops straight down, like where it is and the timing and the placement of it is what we're watching. And this is so far out that we know it's going to change. But we know that all the models are pointing to there being some type of activity right here, and that's what we're watching. Okay, so there's that factor for us. And then you go into beyond. Starts to slide on over. This is all the way into the end of next week. So now we're getting into, you know, that farther than 10-day range out. And so we're keeping an eye on that, but that is what we have there. Okay. Talked with you about this before. You can go ahead and bring this full for this one so they can get a good look at it. This is what we call the weather rules for forecasting. Whenever you are thinking about stuff that's coming down the pipe, you're looking at 7 to 10 days out. All we're looking is for pattern recognition. And that means we know the area. We know, like when we have a bomb cyclone, where's the motion that's coming? When we have an atmospheric river, whether we have a high or a low, where is that pattern, and what are we recognizing about history? We've seen things happen, and this is where the human meteorologist is better than the phone, because the phone is just crunching numbers. It's not taking into consideration the region, the factors, the things that we have known and experienced. This is where we're at the moment as we're looking at anything Monday or beyond. As things start to get closer, then we start looking at okay, where are we trending? Okay, so now we're starting to say, we see something, we are seeing it on multiple models. Is it looking more likely? Is it backing off a bit? Are they agreeing more, or are they agreeing less?
Is that all kind of depending on where that low pressure point goes and
Yes.
when it goes,
Yep.
where it goes? Okay.
Where does it look like it's
Yeah.
trending to? So that's where we're kind of starting to get into that 5 to 7 day range
Okay.
as we get closer to Monday. And then once we get into 3 to 5 days, then we can start nailing down timing. Okay, we've seen the pattern. We see where the trends are going. Now, what time is that rain or snow or ice or wind or whatever, heat wave, all that kind of stuff that we look for. So is it becoming more likely? Will it snow at all? Is it ice? The timing, the intensity, how much will we see? That's when we get 3 to 5 days out. And then once we get into the 1 to 3 day range, then we give you the forecast details, amounts, exact location, and the exact timing. So when people are asking me a month ago if it was going to snow in February,
Yeah, who knows?
who knows? Even right now, with February being, a little more than, in that 7 to 10 day range, still can't guarantee it, because the model runs change every time we watch them. Last night was different than this morning, was different than this afternoon. And so we have to watch those and keep our eye on how those things are trending. Eventually they'll come together and we'll have a very good idea of what is coming up. Okay, this is the other version I wanted to show you. You can bring this back up so I can walk us through it. This is a look at the air temperature, the cold air that's up there. I showed you that low pressure center that was sitting up to our northwest. Everywhere that you see shaded in, and as we talk about, the darker colors are more likelihood that we're going to see sticking snow. This is through Saturday. You can start to see the very edge is just starting to graze us in there in the Pacific Northwest. Then as you go a little farther, now it's stretched across, but again, very light, but it's there. It's just like the right clipping the bottom edge of that. That Arctic cold is way up here, and then this is the stuff that's coming down with that low pressure center. Once we get into Monday morning, this is where we have our possible first alert weather day, because now you can see it's stretched in. We're starting to get into some darker colors, starting to get to that possibility that we could see a wintry mix in there. And then now we're into Tuesday morning. You can see where that Cascade range is right there. And I do have a graphic for the snow coming up for you in just a moment. So this is where we have our first alert coming in, and then you take that a little farther into Tuesday night and even in beyond. And we're getting a little too far out to be certain. So what is likely to happen this weekend? What we're looking at is light showers, mixed, but anything that's about 1,500 feet or above could see some snow, because our snow level starting to drop, and then mainly dry on Sunday. But here are the unknowns that we're watching and tracking, and we're not going to say for certain yet. Are we getting an Arctic blast? That means daytime temperatures 32 degrees or below. So that's when we haven't seen that yet. That's not something that we've seen. We can't count it out. Are we going to get a real snowstorm, 2 inches or more? Definitely not through Sunday, but Monday when we have that possible first alert day and beyond. That's what we're tracking there. Oh, I touched it. Is that a touch screen?
It is. It is a touch
screen. How fun is that? I might have to play with that sometime. Okay, and then freezing rain at this point, that's not what we're seeing for now, but of course, that's something that's always on our radar when we're looking at these Arctic blasts. The confidence. This is Mark's little confidence meter about things.
I like it. I like
not
it.
completely low, but definitely not getting into the high range that we're going to start seeing that on Monday. The potential for the wintry mix early next week is there. We're watching for that location of that cold air, because that's key. And right now we're saying very little. And here's what can help me give you a more visual on that is, let's pop this one more. Technical, oh, it's reconnecting. Apparently,
Oh, cool.
my connection was, there we go.
Well, in case people didn't know, we are live, so
Yes, we are.
This is part of what happens here.
Okay, here we go. So this is where the very low confidence comes in. So as you usually see with most of our models, the green represents rain and the blue represents the snow. So you can see when we get to that Monday, there's nothing really in the metro.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
kind of
showing-
dancing all around it,
It's
right?
dancing all around it. It's the coast range because it gets down to around 1,500 feet. So that includes the coast range and then into the Cascades. Now you fast forward it a little more, you see it backs off even from that. So now it's just up along the mountains and we're just rain all the way to the coast there. Push it even farther when we're starting to get into where I showed you that even colder air
Yeah.
coming in. Still here. This one is, and this is the Euro model. This is the European model, which tends to be a little more liberal when it comes to how much we're going to get.
Okay.
It's still only showing rain through the valleys, and then again snow at the beach and along the coast range and the Cascades and into central and eastern Oregon, well down in that southeast corner there. So this is where we're showing you not everything is in agreement, not everything is pointing, not everybody is saying it, but the potential is still there.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why we're keeping such a close eye on it. Now, looking at accumulation, this is a different model. So I like to show you all the different ones so you can see what information we're looking at when we put your forecast together.
So what's this model?
This particular one, I believe this is the Euro.
Oh, this is the Euro, okay.
Yeah, this is, but they have different runs. So they have a full run, they have a 90 run, they have a high res run. So
at some point we should do a segment just explaining that stuff.
we could spend
Yeah.
a whole hour talking
Yeah.
about the models. I've spent several years learning about the models there. So, okay, so this particular one, let me see if I can see it on my, yes, this is one of the Euro snow runs. So this one shows it just starting to accumulate at the tops of the peaks of the mountains there Friday morning. So no snow getting until we get into Friday morning. And then by the time we get into Saturday night, we have snow all across the tops, across the passes, and we have anywhere from 4 inches at government camp to a foot or so up at the top. Then you continue on into Sunday. Remember we talked about Sunday not really having too much, so we don't get much. And now we're going all the way out to Tuesday morning, and you see we have snow down into the gorge. But again, do you see anything?
Right.
So some of it, even this one has it backed off even more than what I just showed you with the other run that we had. It had all the way down to the sea level, and it's not even showing it there. It's just keeping it along the coast range. So this one, again, not showing any snow making it down to the valleys, which I think makes some people sad. This is the one that I know lots of people are very excited about. Okay,
Yes.
So this is our Mount Hood forecast. What we're looking at here is the snow level. This is up at the mountain, and then these are temperatures at the government camp, the highs for those days. I showed you that we're not expecting to see anything during the day until into the evening. So I did it again, just a couple inches there on Friday. Heavier snow on Saturday, backing off maybe a little into Sunday morning, but then mainly dry. And then that potential first alert day that we have, another 6 to 10 inches. So in the next 7 days, we could see up to 30 inches.
That's great.
At this point. And I hope this holds out for
Yeah.
us, because we really could use this wonderful snow. And then temperature-wise at government camp, we do drop back into freezing once we get to Saturday, but not too incredibly cold, but just enough to get some wonderful sticking snow, and then that's your travel to go over the Cascades. You know what I just realized?
I was going to say 50 degrees at government camp. That seems really warm.
That's exactly. Not quite there yet. Okay, what I want to bring up here real quick for you, I'm changing horses here because I can, even though we're live.
That's okay. That's what we can
show
do on this.
you.
So again, this is a new segment here.
Yeah.
I mean, and we've done some of these before,
And this is
but
what I'm hoping for is something that we can build, is people can eventually start sending us questions.
Yeah.
And we can answer things live and give people an opportunity to get their questions answered that they maybe, when they're watching the forecast on air,
yeah,
on TV.
they're like, wait a minute, explain that.
Explain that to me a little more.
Yeah,
Okay, so
that's
here
me.
is your current 7-day forecast. This is what we have. And our model runs just started coming in for today, this morning. We'll get a few more this afternoon, and Mark will update for this evening. But today, back into the low 50s, keeping that for a couple of days. 2 more sunny, clear days. That high pressure hasn't broken down yet. Then we start to see it breaking down. Things start to get a little colder. Clouds come in, so we warm up overnight. There's the difference that the clouds can make in your temperatures overnight. I know it might sound a little kindergartenish, but it's like a blanket, right?
Yeah.
It's warmer when you have a blanket over you. So that's what you get. Rain and breezy, we get some east winds, and then few light showers, and then that possible first alert day. With that, don't be married to the fact that we have it there, because we could push this back a little farther.
Yeah.
We're watching, or Mark could make it a absolute first alert day tonight, because now he's seen something that he's like, oh, this gives me confidence. So be paying attention to that, and we literally watch, depending on which model it is, resolution it is, we're watching models every couple hours, every 4 to 6 hours, depending on which run we're looking at, and updating as these conditions change. And I know I've said this also on here many times, but we have something pretty special here that can help folks. How am I going to get there? Aha, there we go. I want to make sure you all know that we run updates, 1-minute updates.
Yes.
On a daily basis. Let's go ahead and we can also bring this up full for everybody. I do 2 in the morning, 1 first thing in the morning, about 6 a.m., giving a daily forecast of what to expect that day. And then I do a second one later where I explain something of high importance of your forecast. And then we do another one in the afternoon and a couple more in the evening. But if anything happens, anything breaks, any breaking weather news, we've done it with tornadoes, we've done it with thunderstorms, we'll do it with snow, we immediately go on and give that forecast on the Fox 12 Weather app right when it happens. If you have the app and you have the notifications set up, you will get a notification from us, and it's just a quick 1 minute, here's what's happening. So you don't have to wait and find out until the forecast comes on for your newscast.
I mean, which can be really valuable, especially like you mentioned, you know, some of those big breaking weather events, you may be completely unaware that it's happening.
Yes.
But if you get that notification, you can find out right then.
Yep, and that's what we want to do, is we want to make sure everybody's prepared when something happens, when something goes out. You're not going to wait until 4 o'clock to watch a newscast. You'll get it right when it happens.
So get that app.
Yeah.
That's in addition to the one I was talking about at the beginning of the show, the
Yeah.
Fox 12 Oregon app. So both of those will have you covered.
Yes.
For everything.
And we do have our forecast information on the Fox News app, but if you want those daily 5-6 times a day,
This is the
1
one.
minute forecast to get from us. And the temperatures and the chance for rain, like when you look at the 7-day on the app, when you download it, those are our numbers that we input in to the app. So you're not getting a computer model with one run or one ensemble or something that's down in Southern California that the computer's running. They're our numbers, our forecasts that we're putting in for you folks.
So to answer the question, is there snow in the forecast?
Possibly.
Maybe.
Well,
There's the answer.
There's definitely snow at the Cascades.
Yeah.
That's confident. It's just, will it be at the beach? Will it be on the Coast Range? Most likely the Coast Range. I actually feel pretty confident about that. But the Metro Valleys and along
That's
beach,
what we're waiting for.
That's what we're waiting for.
So later on this week, we'll get a little bit better of an idea.
Yes, give us a few days to get closer. And just real quick, to put it in perspective, we have seen in that 7 to 10 day range a chance for snow or ice or whatever ever since December, before Christmas.
Wow.
So every time we get a little closer, it pushes it back farther, it pushes it back farther. This is the first time we've actually seen it make it into that 7-day forecast.
Okay.
So it's trending a little, but it could still shift.
All right. Well, we will have to keep up to date on that and follow along. And as you mentioned, download that app right there. And of course, you can watch Katie every morning. And over here.
Yeah, send us questions. Send me questions. You can, send it to the newsroom. You can send it to me. We want to answer. We're starting this because we want to answer your more in-depth questions. So feel free to shoot something to us, and we'll tackle that topic for you as soon as we can.
Yeah, there's more time to kind of go into that. So yeah, feel free to send those in. And thanks, Katie.
Yes.
And thanks everybody for joining us. Again, this is Fox 12 Now. If it's your first time watching, thanks for doing so. We have more coming up later today, starting at 1 o'clock outside of our regular newscast. So make sure to join us then. But I'll talk to you then, and we'll see you soon.